I always believed company barbecues were supposed to be celebrations. You invite people you work with, share grilled food and cold beer, and blow off steam after another week running heavy equipment under the Texas sun. That's what I imagined for our annual crew gathering, that sweltering Saturday in Southeast Houston. Nothing fancy, nothing complicated, just burgers, beers, and the kind of easy conversation that comes when working men get together away from the job site. How spectacularly wrong I was. Looking back now, I realized that day was never going to be about celebration. It was going to be a reckoning I didn't see coming until it was too late to stop it. My name is Brady Walsh, and for 7 years, I've been married to a woman named Kimberly Walsh. Even now, months later, her name still feels strange in my mouth. Like a word I've said so many times, it's lost all meaning. We met at a real estate conference in Dallas during a thunderstorm that trapped 200 professionals in a hotel lobby for 4 hours. She was magnetic even then. Sharp, confident, the kind of person who could work a room without breaking a sweat. I was there fixing the hotel's busted HVAC system, emergency call during my off hours. She struck up a conversation while I was washing grease off my hands in the lobby restroom. Something about finding a real man who actually fixed things with his hands. I was drawn to her immediately, the way moths are drawn to flames, never considering that getting too close might leave you burned. Our early years were good, better than good actually. We traveled, Austin, New Orleans, Colorado mountains, where we watched sunsets that looked like paintings. We bought our first house together, a solid brick ranch in Pearland with a 2-car garage and a yard big enough for barbecues. She worked for Premier Realty Group, a mid-sized firm specializing in commercial properties and new construction. She was good at her job, excellent even. People respected her, listened when she spoke. She had a gift for reading clients, understanding what they really wanted versus what they said they wanted. I worked as a heavy equipment operator for Lone Star Excavation, running bulldozers, excavators, and scrapers on construction sites across Harris County. Steady work, union benefits, nothing glamorous, but I took pride in it, moving earth, shaping the landscape, making sure foundations were level and drainage worked right. The kind of work that builds cities, even if nobody thinks about it when they're driving on the roads we grade or living in the subdivisions we prepare. For a while, we fit together. She brought ambition to my contentment. I brought stability to her hustle. We hosted neighborhood barbecues where she networked and I grilled. We spent Sunday mornings reading different sections of the Chronicle in comfortable silence. We talked about having kids someday, maybe buying a bigger place closer to the woodlands, but somewhere around year 5, things shifted. It was subtle at first, so subtle I convinced myself I was imagining it. She started working later, staying downtown for client dinners with developers whose names I'd never heard before. Her phone, once left casually on the kitchen counter, became something she carried from room to room, screen always facing down. She laughed less at my stories from the job site and more at jokes I wasn't part of. I ignored the new perfume that appeared on her dresser, expensive and floral, nothing like the subtle vanilla she usually wore. Ignored the yoga classes that somehow always ran 2 hours over. I ignored the way she started looking at me like I was an obligation rather than a choice, like something she had to manage rather than someone she wanted to come home to. By the time our company barbecue rolled around that June, our marriage had become a performance. We smiled at social gatherings, held hands when neighbors were watching, posted carefully curated photos online, suggesting everything was perfect. #blessed, #grateful. But alone in the quiet hours after midnight, when pretending became too exhausting, we existed in separate silences. She stayed up late on her laptop, blue light washing over her face as she scrolled through listings and client files. I went to bed early, staring at the ceiling, wondering when exactly we'd become strangers who shared a mortgage. Still, when the company announced the annual barbecue, I looked forward to it. Maybe I hoped it would feel like old times. Maybe I just wanted one day where we could pretend the cracks weren't showing. Maybe I simply wanted to introduce Kimberly to the guys I worked with, let them see what I'd been lucky enough to marry. The barbecue was held at Riverside Park, down by the ship channel, where you could smell salt air mixed with petrochemical tang from the refineries. Long tables under pavilions, industrial-sized grills manned by our foreman Jerry, coolers full of Lone Star, and Shiner Bock sweating in the humidity. 50 or so equipment operators, mechanics, and their families gathering to celebrate another profitable quarter. Kimberly came dressed for success. Crisp white blouse, designer jeans, jewelry that caught the light just right. She looked like money, which I guess was the point. In her world, appearances mattered. First impressions closed deals. The day started innocently enough. I introduced her around, watched her work her magic on the wives, watched her charm the supervisors with questions about their kids and compliments about their trucks. She was in her element, the center of attention wherever she landed. People gravitated toward her natural confidence. I stood by the grill helping Jerry flip burgers, drinking beer, and talking shop with the crew. From my position, I could see Kimberly holding court near the picnic tables, animated and engaging, making people feel important just by focusing on them. She was good at this, always had been. Then someone asked about my truck payment. "Brady's got that new F-250, said Miguel, our crane operator. Diesel, crew cab, all the bells and whistles. What's that running you, brother? $580 a month, I said, flipping a burger. Worth every penny when you're hauling equipment trailers. That's when I heard Kimberly's voice carry across the pavilion, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Oh my God, you guys should see Brady trying to justify that truck payment every month. But honey, I need the heavy-duty suspension. But honey, diesel gets better mileage." A few people glanced my way, smiling, ready for what they assumed would be good-natured ribbing between spouses. I kept flipping burgers, jaw tightening slightly. $580, Kimberly continued, her voice taking on that particular tone she used when she wanted to make a point. Every single month, for a truck he uses to drive to work and back. Meanwhile, I'm showing million-dollar properties in a Honda Accord because, apparently, his toys are more important than my professional image. The laughter started then, uncomfortable but present. Someone snorted into their beer. "And don't even get me started on the tool collection," she added, warming to her audience. "Every weekend it's another essential purchase from Home Depot. Honey, I need this specialized wrench that costs $200. Honey, this impact driver is different from the other 3 I already have." More laughter, louder this time. I set down the spatula and took a long pull from my Shiner Bock, feeling heat that had nothing to do with the Houston sun spreading across my neck. "My husband thinks every problem can be solved with the right tool and enough elbow grease," Kimberly continued, performing now for her captive audience. "Last month, he spent 4 hours trying to fix the garbage disposal with YouTube videos instead of just calling a plumber, flooded the kitchen twice. The repair bill was more than a new disposal would have cost." The crowd was eating it up now, delighted by the entertainment they hadn't expected at a company barbecue, entertained by the show being put on at my expense, my barbecue, my co-workers, my wife. I could have stayed silent. 7 years of marriage had trained me well. Nod, smile, let it pass. Don't make waves. Don't embarrass her in front of people. Keep the peace. But something snapped. Maybe it was the beer. Maybe it was the way my crew was looking at me with a mixture of sympathy and secondhand embarrassment. Maybe I was just tired of being the punchline. So, when Jerry asked me to grab more propane from his truck, I did, and added lightly, casually, with the same tone Kimberly had been using all afternoon. Speaking of expensive monthly payments, y'all should see Kimberly's credit card statements. She treats the Galleria like it's an Olympic endurance event. 3-hour shopping trips for 1 pair of shoes. The words hung in the air for exactly 2 seconds. Then everything changed. Kimberly's head snapped toward me so fast I heard her neck crack. Her expression transformed, smile vanishing, eyes going flat and cold, jaw setting, with the kind of tension that precedes violence. She crossed the distance between us in 5 sharp steps, heels clicking against concrete. I didn't see her hand coming until it was too late. The slap cracked across my face like a gunshot. Every conversation stopped mid-sentence. Someone's beer bottle hit the ground, foam spreading across the pavilion floor. A kid started crying somewhere behind me, startled by the sudden violence. I stood there, propane tank still in my hands, my cheek stinging, my mind strangely blank and clear at the same time. Kimberly's face was inches from mine, her voice low and venomous enough that only I could hear. "Don't you ever mock my spending in front of these people, you hear me? Ever." Not an apology, not even an explanation. Just a warning, delivered with the cold precision of someone who expected immediate compliance. I looked at her, really looked at her, maybe for the first time in years, and saw someone I didn't recognize. Or maybe someone I'd been refusing to see clearly. I nodded once, slowly, and walked away. Not dramatically, not angrily. Just away. Inside Jerry's truck, I sat in the cab and pressed a cold shiner against my cheek. The beer helped, not with the pain. The slap hadn't actually hurt that much, more shock than injury. But the cold gave my thoughts something to anchor to, while my mind processed what had just happened. She hit me in front of my crew, my union brothers, men I worked alongside every day, men whose respect I'd spent 7 years earning, and no one said anything. They were probably as shocked as I was, but the silence felt like judgment. I sat there in that truck cab, air conditioning running, and thought about the last year without the protective fog of denial I'd been wrapping around myself. The late-night phone calls she took in the bathroom, the sudden interest in networking events that always seemed to run past midnight, the way she'd started talking about upgrading our lifestyle and professional advancement opportunities. Through the windshield, I watched the barbecue continue, awkward conversations restarting with forced casualness, people pretending they hadn't just witnessed something deeply wrong. And I saw something else too. Kimberly stood near the park's retention pond, partially hidden by a cluster of pine trees. Shane Preston was with her, middle management from Bayou Supply Company, the outfit that provided materials for half our job sites. He'd been at the barbecue, invited through some business connection I hadn't questioned. Too close. His hand on her lower back, possessive and familiar. She leaned into him, body language completely different from the rigid anger she'd shown me minutes earlier. Soft, open, intimate. She touched his chest, fingers lingering. He said something that made her smile, that real smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. Then Jerry walked past the truck, blocking my view. When I looked again, they'd separated, returning to the barbecue from different directions, careful and practiced. I set down the beer. My cheek had gone numb, but everything else suddenly felt sharp and clear. This wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. This was a pattern, a choice, something ongoing and deliberate. The slap wasn't about my joke. It was about control, about making sure I stayed in my place. The husband who didn't ask questions, who absorbed public humiliation without fighting back, who could be managed with just enough shame and fear. I heard footsteps approaching the truck. Kimberly appeared at the passenger door, her expression carefully neutral. "Brady, people are asking where you went." I stared at her through the glass. "I'll be right there." She studied my face, looking for something, compliance maybe, or confirmation that her message had been received. Whatever she saw seemed to satisfy her. "Good. Try not to sulk. These are your people. Act like you're having fun." She left. I sat there for another minute, listening to her laughter drift back through the trees, and made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her, not yet. I was going to watch, to pay attention, to stop protecting myself from the truth with denial and hope. Because sometimes the only way forward is to see clearly, even when what you're seeing changes everything. The barbecue eventually ended. Cleanup happened in the careful choreography of people trying not to acknowledge awkwardness. A few guys clapped me on the shoulder without making eye contact. Jerry offered me overtime next week, his way of showing support without directly addressing what had happened. Kimberly drove separately. Had to show a property, she said. Last-minute client emergency. I went home alone, cracked another beer, and opened my laptop. Time to stop reacting, time to start documenting. Over the next 2 weeks, I became someone I didn't recognize. Methodical, patient, invisible. I went to work, came home, smiled at appropriate times, said nothing about the evidence I was assembling piece by piece. I started with her laptop, the one she left open on the kitchen counter while she showered, passwords saved in the browser, security questions. I knew the answers to because I'd been there when she set them up. Her email revealed everything I needed to know, and several things I wished I didn't. Hotel reservations under fake names, romantic messages that made my stomach turn, plans for a future that didn't include me. "Can't wait until he finally figures it out and files," she'd written to Shane 3 weeks earlier. "Then we won't have to sneak around anymore." They weren't even planning to hide it long term. They were just waiting for me to do the hard part, to be the one who ended things, who moved out, who looked like the quitter. That way she could play the victim, the abandoned wife whose blue-collar husband just gave up on their marriage. I took screenshots of everything, downloaded message threads, saved receipts from the hotel in Galveston where they'd spent Memorial Day weekend. The same weekend, Kimberly told me she was at a professional development conference in San Antonio. I found photographs too, dozens of them. The two of them hiking at Brazos Bend State Park, kissing at that waterfront restaurant in Kama, tangled together in bed somewhere I didn't recognize. Her face in those photos glowed with happiness I hadn't seen directed at me in years. It should have destroyed me. Maybe it would have 2 weeks ago. Now, it just felt like ammunition. I created a folder on a secure cloud drive. Evidence. Organized everything by date, by type, by relevance. Messages in one subfolder, photos in another, financial records showing suspicious charges in a third. I was thorough, obsessive even. Every screenshot labeled and time-stamped. Every piece of proof triple-backed up. At work, I told no one. At home, I played my role perfectly. The oblivious husband, slightly bumbling, easy to manage. I asked Kimberly about her day, laughed at her stories about difficult clients, suggested we catch a movie Friday night. She looked at me with something like pity. I've got plans with Jessica Friday, girls' night. Jessica being her code name for Shane, I now knew. That's great, I said warmly. You deserve a night out. She actually smiled at me then, pleased that I was being so understanding, so compliant. She had no idea I was counting down. I consulted with a divorce attorney, Wesley Foster, recommended by my union rep, who'd been through his own messy separation 2 years earlier. Foster was sharp, efficient, and understood working-class concerns. He looked through my evidence with the careful attention of someone who appreciated thorough preparation. This is comprehensive, he said, scrolling through files on my USB drive. Almost too comprehensive. When did you start gathering this? Texas is a no-fault divorce state, he explained. So technically the infidelity doesn't impact the legal dissolution, but it does affect optics, perception, and leverage, especially if her employer has policies about conflicts of interest. He does contract work for companies she handles real estate deals for, I said. She's been involved in approving purchase orders, site selection, the whole process. Foster's eyes sharpened. That's a clear conflict of interest, possibly grounds for an ethics investigation, depending on their internal policies. Premier Realty takes ethics very seriously, I said, remembering the lengthy handbook Kimberly had brought home when she was promoted to senior agent. They have zero-tolerance policies about personal relationships affecting professional judgment. Then you have options, Foster said. The question is, how far do you want to take this? I thought about the slap. The public humiliation, the years of jokes at my expense, the way she'd planned to let me be the one who left so she could maintain her image. All the way, I said. We spent the next hour strategizing. Foster would file the divorce papers, but we'd wait on serving them. First, I'd execute what he called controlled disclosure, revealing the affair strategically to specific people with specific goals. On a Thursday evening in early July, Kimberly came home energized in a way I'd learned to recognize, the way she got when she was about to see Shane. So, she said, setting down her purse with exaggerated casualness, I know this is last minute, but Jessica invited me to this wellness retreat this weekend. It's at some resort near Austin. Yoga, meditation, digital detox, the whole thing. Jessica again. I wondered if she even remembered which lies she'd told. This weekend, I asked as if considering. That's pretty short notice. I know, super last minute, but it's supposed to be amazing for stress relief, and God knows I need it after the week I've had. The week she'd had. The irony was almost funny. You should go, I said supportively. When was the last time you took time for yourself? She brightened immediately, relieved she wouldn't have to push harder. Really? You don't mind? Why would I mind? You deserve it. She hugged me then. Actually hugged me, warm and grateful. Thank you, Brady. You're the best. I hugged her back, breathing in her perfume, memorizing this moment. The last time she'd touch me with affection. The last time I'd let her believe she was in control. What time do you leave? I asked. Friday morning. I'll probably be back Sunday evening. Perfect. That night she packed with unusual care. I watched from the doorway as she selected outfits. Not yoga clothes, I noticed, but nice jeans, a low-cut sweater, the lace lingerie I'd bought her last Christmas that she'd never worn for me. Friday morning arrived hot and humid, Typical summer weather in Houston. Kimberly was up early, showered and dressed by 7, checking her phone constantly. "Text me if you need anything," she said, kissing my cheek at the door. "I probably won't have great service at the retreat, but I'll check messages when I can." "Have fun," I told her. "You deserve this." She smiled that full, genuine smile I used to love, and left. I watched her Accord disappear down our street, waited exactly 5 minutes, then opened my laptop. Time to execute. The first call went to Foster. "Execute phase 1. Roger that. I'll file the papers and send the settlement proposal. Give me 2 hours." The second call went to Kimberly's mother, Crystal, who lived in Beaumont and who'd always treated me with barely concealed disappointment, like I was somehow not good enough for her daughter. I kept it factual, unemotional, just dates, evidence, and truth. I sent her selected screenshots. Nothing explicit, nothing cruel, just enough to be undeniable. She was silent for a long time after I finished. Finally, "I don't understand. Why would she do this to you, to her marriage?" "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I thought you should hear it from me." She hung up without saying goodbye. By noon, I'd made 8 calls. Family members, close friends, people who mattered to Kimberly, whose opinion she cared about. I didn't gossip or editorialize. I just presented facts, sent evidence when asked, and let them draw their own conclusions. Then I sent one carefully crafted email to the ethics compliance director at Premier Realty. I attached 30 pages of evidence, timeline spreadsheets, message screenshots with timestamps, photos of them together on dates that corresponded with property deals Shane's company had been involved in. The final message went directly to Shane Preston's phone. No words, no explanation. Just a file attachment labeled everything. 600 photos, 400 message screenshots, every hotel receipt, every lie documented, every moment of their affair compiled into one devastating portfolio. I imagined him opening it at whatever resort they were at, wine glass in hand, Kimberly beside him, both of them congratulating themselves on another successful deception. I imagined his face as he scrolled through proof that someone knew everything. Then I put my phone on silent, poured myself a whiskey I'd been saving for a special occasion, and waited. The first response came at 3:15. Crystal called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was brief and shaking. I confronted her. She admitted everything. "Brady, I'm so sorry. She's not who I thought she was." At 4:33, my phone started buzzing continuously. Blocked number. I let it ring. At 4:35, a text from Kimberly's number. "What the fuck did you do?" I stared at it, whiskey warm in my chest, and typed back, "I stopped lying for you." My phone rang immediately. Kimberly. I declined the call. She tried 6 more times. On the 7th attempt, I answered. "How could you?" she screamed, her voice so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "You sent that shit to my mother? To my friends? To my fucking employer?" "Yes," I said calmly. "You've destroyed my career, my reputation, everything." "I sent them the truth, Kimberly. What they do with it isn't my responsibility. You're vindictive, a pathetic little man who can't handle. Check your email. The divorce papers were filed this morning. My attorney sent you the settlement proposal an hour ago." Silence. Heavy breathing. "You're going to regret this," she said, quieter now, dangerous. "I regret marrying you," I said. This I feel fine about." I hung up. She called back 17 times. I blocked the number. Shane tried calling too, from 3 different numbers. Each one got blocked. By Saturday morning, my inbox was full. Kimberly's brother demanding I take everything back. Her father threatening legal action. Friends taking sides, some supporting me, others accusing me of going too far. I read every message, replied to none. Sunday evening, Kimberly came home. I was sitting on the couch with a cup of coffee, reading a book, when I heard her key in the lock. She opened the door slowly, cautiously, like she expected traps. Our eyes met. She looked wrecked, hair unwashed, eyes red and swollen. The confident woman who'd left Friday morning had been replaced by someone hollowed out and desperate. "Brady," she whispered. "The guest room is available," I said evenly. "My attorney says you're entitled to stay in the house until the divorce is finalized, but we have nothing to discuss. Please, can we just talk?" "No. I made a mistake. I was confused. I was unhappy. You slapped me at my company barbecue," I interrupted. You spent months lying to me, sleeping with our business contact, planning a future without me while pretending everything was fine. Those weren't mistakes, Kimberly. Those were choices. She sank onto the stairs, sobbing. Everyone hates me. My mom won't talk to me. My job is gone. Shane won't answer my calls. You've destroyed my entire life. I didn't destroy anything, I said quietly. I just stopped helping you hide what you destroyed yourself. I picked up my book and kept reading. She cried on those stairs for 20 minutes before finally dragging herself upstairs to the guest room. I slept soundly for the first time in months. The divorce finalized 4 months later. Kimberly fought for everything. The house, the savings, half my pension. Foster fought back harder. In the end, she got a small settlement and walked away with her reputation in ruins and her career stalled. Premier Realty's investigation confirmed the conflict of interest. She wasn't fired, but she was suspended, transferred to residential sales, and permanently flagged in her file. Professional recovery would take years, if it came at all. Shane Preston got transferred by his company. Someone said to their Midland office, someone else said Oklahoma. I didn't care enough to confirm. The neighborhood changed after that. People who'd witnessed the barbecue incident suddenly couldn't meet my eyes at the grocery store. A few apologized. Most just avoided me. I sold the house in December. Couldn't stand living in a place saturated with lies and false memories. Bought a smaller place in Cyprus, closer to work, with a shop out back where I could work on my truck in peace. Started therapy. Processed 7 years of manipulation and gaslighting. Learned what healthy boundaries looked like. Remembered who I'd been before I'd spent so long making myself smaller to accommodate someone else's ego. Started dating again. Nothing serious, just reminders of what it felt like to be treated with basic respect. Met a teacher named Sarah at a bookstore in the Woodlands. She thought my work stories were interesting, not embarrassing. Asked intelligent questions about heavy equipment, about building things that last. Learned to recognize red flags early. Learned that being alone was infinitely better than being with someone who made you feel worthless. Most importantly, I learned that sometimes the only way to get your life back is to stop playing defense and start playing offense. 6 months after the divorce, Jerry offered me a promotion to site supervisor. Better pay, more responsibility, respect from younger operators who looked up to someone who'd earned his position through skill and integrity rather than politics or connections. I accepted. 1 year later, at our annual company barbecue, I stood by the same grill at the same park, flipping burgers for the crew. But this time, I brought Sarah. She wore jeans and work boots, helped serve food, laughed at the guys' stories without a trace of condescension. "Your woman's all right," Miguel said, watching Sarah help Jerry's wife organize the dessert table. "Keeps it real." I smiled, watching Sarah gesture animatedly as she told some story that had the wives cracking up. "Yeah," I said. "She does." Someone asked about my truck payment. This time, I just grinned and said, "Worth every penny." No explanation needed, no justification required, no apology for who I was or what I did for a living. The difference was simple. I'd stopped letting other people define my worth. I'd stopped accepting disrespect in the name of keeping peace. I'd learned that loyalty has to run both ways, or it's just servitude, and I'd finally completely taken my life back. Looking back now, I realized that company barbecue 7 years ago wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of the rest of my life, the life I was always supposed to live once I stopped apologizing for being exactly who I was meant to be.